Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the January GM Norm Round Robin. This is a recap of game number 3, which I played last night. I was extremely tired afterward, actually, and I came home, had some food, took a shower, went to sleep. It's currently 7:45 a.m. I sleep about 7 to 8 hours, and we fell asleep at midnight, so I got some decent sleep, and I'm going to need it. My opponent for this round is Ivan Shitko. That is apparently how you say it. I'm going to say this right now. Ivan's a really nice guy. I don't want to mispronounce his name. We spoke after the game. He's from Moldova, but he's currently studying here in the United States. I thought it was pronounced Skitko, but then someone in the comments said they're from Moldova, and I'm pronouncing it right. But we might have parents watching this with their kids, so we need to be mindful of that. So the problems of this game began on move 1. I'm not even joking. I show up to the board and this dude plays e4, which is just really funny to me because he doesn't play e4. Like, he just doesn't play it at all. And he's a Catalan player. So I spent, my hour and a half before the round preparing something against d4. I spent all this time, and it's good. I'm going to use it in the future, but plays e4. So I have to have a thought here. I'm like, should I play the French? Because I played it in round 1, right? But I don't think he's going to play knight c3. I think he's going to play knight d2, bishop d3, e5, some sideline of the French, right? I don't really, like I told you in the first round, I only played the French because I knew Balaji was going to play knight c3. I'm like, all right, what can this bozo do to me in my backyard? I know everything about this opening. Let's go. And then he plays the one thing that I legitimately haven't looked at in a long time. Because the last time I played against a fantasy variation over the board, I played in Blitz a lot, but over the board, it's been years. And I think playing Blitz has given me a bit of a false sense of security. I just sort of play whatever in Blitz. I'll play the g6 line. I'll play the e6 line, although less. I'll play queen b6, which is a line. I'll play the main line where you take and play e5. This is extremely common. There's probably even some other stuff. But there's the immediate e5, I think. But he played f3, and I'm like, well, I know that there's a line here, g6, right? Knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e3. So white gets this big kind of thing on the center, tries to play queen d2, trade your dark squared bishop, do something in the center here before they get fully developed. And there's some line with queen b6, but I don't remember it. I just don't remember it at all. He could play a3, queen d2. Hey, he could play a3 because if I take, he traps my queen, which is tragic. I just didn't remember it. And I'm sitting there if a guy has prepped the fantasy, online, I know most of my games go g6, which is what he's looked at, I think. Also DE, so I'm like, let's go e6. My logic with e6 is that after knight c3, knight f6, I can also play bishop b4 and knight e7. I know that that's a line, but again, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it, so why wouldn't I play something that I know will become something else, right? So I play knight f6, and actually here, according to theory, the best thing is e5. The best thing for white to do here is to play e5 and f4, and now it's actually a French. It's actually a French defense again. I go c5. We're in a classical French Steinitz. So knight f3, knight c6, bishop e3. So we transposed because weird opening move order, right? So I play knight f6. I'm like, well, he's going to play e5 probably. And he blitzes this move instantly. The computer already thinks that this is an inaccuracy, by the way, which is hilarious. And this move has barely been played. So either he was just going for the same setup against the g6 setup that he had prepared, but he played it so quickly, I'm like, what? Really? So now I start thinking, okay, I can pin his knight. I didn't like it. I thought it was a little too committal to play bishop b4. I thought he would play e5, maybe a3, b4. It just didn't make sense to me. It's just a waste of time. I thought about just developing. This is not scary, just castle. And then I just played queen b6 because I'm like, I don't understand. How's he going to protect his pawn? And he blitzed rook b1. And no, the song did not go through my head. He played rook b1. And I'm like, why is he playing so fast? I swear this isn't theory. I went back home. I barely saw any games in the database, so I don't know. He's got the world's best poker face. So I'm sitting there all right, I can still play bishop e7 and castle, but then why did I put my queen here, right? I know that there's some positions where this bishop on e3 is kind of loose, and I have counterplay by means of e5. And then what happens when we clarify the situation in the center of the board is I could slide my queen back if it ever gets attacked. I solve the problem of my bishops and I castle, right? So e5 is what I start considering. Again, I didn't really like this because what am I doing after a3? Like, am I going to take the knight and hit my own queen? And if he goes here, I don't know. It just looks sus, to say the least. E5, if I take, he blocks, and then my knight is still hanging. I don't know. Thinking bishop e7, and then, you know, I'm also thinking I should play e5 at some point. By the way, if you own my Caro-Kann course, apparently the move here is knight d7. I think someone told me. Yeah, I didn't know that. 33% off. Use code New York. Apparently, also I can play take, and e5. And the idea is I now defend g4, and I can go knight g4. So I always have this knight g4 idea after takes e5. But I played e5 right away because I'm trash. And, well, I'm not trash, but I had an idea. My idea is that, you know, if he takes on d5 now, I'm going to take with a knight. So I'm going to force a trade, and I'm fine here. I have absolutely no problems. I'm going to finish my development. He plays queen d2, which is obviously a good move. Now he's threatening to take and attack my queen. I thought about sliding back, but I don't know. That just looked kind of stupid. But the difference being that if he goes for the same looking position, I can stay on the e-file and I can continue to pin his pawn to his king, which is actually not that bad. I took on d4 first and then went back to d8. And my logic was I had two ideas here. Number one, if he takes my knight and then takes my pawn, that's just the free pawn. But I'm going to go bishop b4. And then I'm going to castle, and for the cost of one pawn, I'm going to have some very interesting play. I even was thinking some queen e3, king d8. This was actually what I calculated. Computer doesn't hate it. Rook e8 is an idea. You know, bring my rook. I don't know. I mean, I don't have to play like this at all. I can also just play like bishop e7, try to castle. And the point is that you get a position after like b takes c6, for example, or even castles. Like, I can beat down two pawns, but my opponent has no development. And actually, black is better here. I saw something like this. I got very excited. But at the same time, I'm playing a guy who plays the Catalan and doesn't play the Caro-Kann. So more likely than not, he's not going to play with fire. That's what I was anticipating. And he didn't. And by the way, the second thing is e5. I also thought about e5, something like this. Some weird wedge. And then my structure stays really solid. Very complex position. Bishop e7, castles. But he shocked me. He took on d5. Like, first. He took on d5 first. I was like, really? So if I take, I guess he was going to go here. And then the difference is that now I'm too slow. So now he's going to take on e5. I don't know. He's going to take on d5. But I thought it was very clever. I took back with the knight, which is a really bad move, apparently. Knight takes d5 is a horrible move, according to... if you watch this game with an engine, you know why I named the video, why I named it. Knight takes d5. Just not good. Not good at all. It's not good at all because I give him this pressure. And he's going to get very quick development. So we have a totally symmetrical pawn structure, but he has a lead in development. Now here he plays bishop c4. So I thought this was the best move. He thought it was obviously the best move. It's not a good move at all. It's also an inaccuracy. Computer recommends rook d1, just immediately applying d-file pressure, getting that trash rook like on a useful file, or knight e2 right away, and then rook d1, or even h4. The computer literally wants you to play h4 here. Bishop c4 is bad because it allows me to move my knight with tempo. Like, look at this idiotic position. White has 4 active pieces. It allows me to play knight b6. And if he gives me check, I just block with my queen. And if he takes my queen, I can actually do this because this is no longer hanging. I have rook g8, so I always have this idea of the weak g2 pawn. Well, and in this case, the bishop is hanging. But yeah, knight b6, and then if he trades, obviously I'm happy. If bishop b3, then I have this, which I completely did not see. I just didn't see this whole idea. Because now if takes, I have take, rook g8, and I'm going to win the g2 pawn with check, and I've equalized. I did not see knight b6, bishop e7. So bishop c4 is bad, because it allows me to immediately consolidate and castle, at which point I've gotten very close to equality. I played what I thought was the best move, which is bishop to e6, which was just developing a piece, kind of fighting him here. And here he played knight e2, which I obviously anticipated. Now, at this point, I'm very well aware of the fact that it's tough to develop and he's going to castle, right? So I'm thinking, all right, I got to speed up. If I play too slowly with something like knight a6 and then try to play like knight c7, you know, he's going to castle. I just have no play. And if I take on c3, again, I'm trading the only active pieces that I have. He blows queen c3. I haven't really improved my position. I'm still completely behind in development. So I come up with a very interesting idea. Bishop to b4. I thought this was very clever. I thought it was very clever for the following reason. If he castles, now I take on c3, and his bishop is hit, and his queen can't take. So we would get a position that looks like take, take. Maybe he plays rook b4, and what I would do is I would lock his rook in a cage with my light squared bishop. If he gives me a check, I'm completely fine because this is hit. And even if I don't take it, because then I would be pinned to my king, like I'm calculating all this stuff in my head, obviously. I just get this. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not worse. I mean, this rook is in jail. The structure is really stupid. Plays like rook e1, I don't know, c5. I have like sort of attacking ideas, right? So if he castles out of bishop b4, I just have knight c3. Fantastic. Okay, great. Now, it turns out if he plays a3, you know, again, I have moves like knight c3, bc. I calculated all of this. I put the rook in a cage. This is all accurate. The computer supports all of this. And then I also calculated bishop takes g7, at which point rook g8, and everything's fine. Bishop takes d5, and here I thought, by the way, bishop b4 is a mistake. But bishop takes d5 first. So the point is, again, he either wants me to commit to having this really bad isolated pawn and a weakness, or he wants me to do this, where I have an open king, and now bishop takes g7 is actually very good for white, because he just follows the bishop. He follows the bishop, he wins another pawn, he's doing very well. So he plays bishop d5, at which point I thought I tricked him with my very brilliant move, queen takes d5. I thought this was so clever. I was like, ha ha ha, I got him. I was like, yo, if he takes, I take, I'm fine. Equalized. Totally not the case, by the way. And I was like, you know, queen d5. If he plays a3, I'm going to take. You know, he's going to take with the knight. I'm going to move my queen, maybe to d8 to keep him pinned, castle. I'm fine. I thought I was getting very close to equalizing. And then he castled. I forgot he could castle in this version. I calculated castling in the other version. I forgot that he could castle out of this. Now he's threatening to take my queen, because when I take his queen, it's not check. So my queen's hanging. I have to move my queen. Of course, if I take on c3, he takes with knight or queen, and I mean, I'm just getting blasted here, right? So I'm like, okay, I think for a little bit, play queen d8. Thought it was the only move. And I think I have to play queen d8. By the way, I have this very funny move, queen a2. He takes, I take his queen. But he would just play queen g5 here, and I would resign. So, yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe there's something even better. But there probably is. Yeah, there's probably something even better. But, yeah, I just moved my queen back to d8. I thought this was the only move. And it's actually kind of funny. He told me after the game he missed queen d8. Like, what are we doing? We're just two bozo IMs just missing only moves. Like, queen d8, the point of queen d8 is he can't move his queen to g5. And I'm maintaining pressure on his piece here. So I thought queen d8, very clever move, right? Good move. Best move, according to the computer. He missed it. Then I missed his response. I thought that he was going to bring a rook. I thought he was going to play a3. I thought he was going to play knight f4. I looked at 4 moves here. Then he played this. I didn't even see that. I like literally didn't even see the slight little shift to get out of the way of this, pin my bishop. So now he is threatening to take my pawn. And if I castle, everything looks good. But he's queen e5. He has this queen e5 move. And I can't block the mate, right? But I thought about going queen f6. So I thought about playing this endgame where I'm giving him my pawn. I thought he would go knight e4, but then there's knight d7. And yeah, and basically I'm down a pawn. It's just a G pawn, but I have 2 bishops. I have activity, you know, maybe bishop f5, and I get some. At the end of the day, I'm just pawn down, right? And I have no counterplay here. So at least that's what I thought. I evaluated this position as just very clearly worse for myself. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. The computer seems to think that it's maybe my best chance not to just lose, but. So I thought about castling, but I came up with what I thought was an interesting idea. I played knight d7. He told me after the game he thought about castles queen f6 as well. Knight d7, and my idea after knight d7 was that when he plays, if he were to take my pawn on g7 here, I would go here, and if he followed with the queen, my plan here was to give him a check and go like this, and sack my g and h pawns completely, but opposite side castling, dynamic play, open board, I finally got all my pieces developed, f6, trap his bishop, maybe not the end of the world, actually. Kind of a complicated game, kind of. That's what I have to say to myself because I'm down 2 pawns. But he plays knight f4, so very naturally, you know, going for my bishop, and I play queen g5. And my idea with queen g5 is that if he takes my bishop, I take. I'm not even down a pawn, so you can basically say I'm completely out of the woods, right? So he plays a natural move here. He plays rook e1. I thought the best move for him was knight e4 right away to kick my queen, and then maybe kick my bishop, and then bring the rooks. Position just looks like a Death Star. He has all his pieces in the center of the board. But he played rook e1, and I decided to long castle. So I'm sacrificing 3 pawns in the same situation. Number 1, he can take on a7. That's the worst one, because then he gets locked. And if he takes, I win his queen. So that's not going to happen. So bishop a7 he can take. He can also take on e6 now, and go take like this. But if he takes on g7, then bishop c5 is an oopsie. That doesn't work. And if he takes my rook, I take his with check. If he plays rook e6, I actually thought about a crazy sequence that goes here, 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 knight e6, c3, rook d8, rook d1, and I would just vibe in this position. I would play like knight d4, cd4, bishop here, and I would play against an isolated pawn with my rook and my bishop. So I saw this whole sequence of moves after knight e6. And then he played here. So he's still delaying taking, right? He's still delaying taking. He takes... Oh, sorry. He kicks out my bishop. I didn't take his rook because my queen was hanging. And here he thought for a while again. And I'm like, why is this dude not taking the pawn? I've been giving him pawns the whole game. He's just not taking them. Which is what I mean. He's a very methodical player. Like, that's why he plays the Catalan. So when it comes time to kind of get very spicy, he might try to be a perfectionist. And I was shocked. I mean, I'm like, bro, if I'm white here, I just play like this. I mean, I just take the pawn, I bring my bishop back. There's some tactics, there's some stuff I can try to box his bishop in. And my game plan here was like, okay, at some point he's going to take, right? What I want in the future, that's what I want. I want my rooks in the center. I'm going to bring my queen to g6, where it's going to be safe forever. I'm going to pressure here and this diagonal, and I'm going to play f5. So I've already come up with my game plan. I'm kind of happy. Opposite side castling, right? I'm going to attack his knight, get all my pieces active. I'm down an a pawn. I mean, I'm down a pawn in a symmetrical structure. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I'm getting all confident. I'm like, all right, I'm slowly figuring this out. I'm maybe not going to lose this game. Cool. He plays queen f2. Like, okay, queen f2 is odd. I mean, I guess, you know, he's getting out of the way. I mean, I can just play queen g6 now. Can play rook e8. I don't really want to play f5 right away, because then he plays knight g5, which is very annoying. Knight g5 is always kind of an annoying move. And I saw this knight g5 idea, you know, I'm like, if I play knight e5, knight g5, all this stuff, if I take, he has rook e5, or bishop e5, probably bishop e5. Bishop e5 is even stronger. If like queen a2, what is there? Some checkmate, rook a1, rook a6, yeah, it's terrible. So, yeah, I mean, I'm like, okay, well, you know, knight g5 is annoying. So I want to anticipate knight g5 with queen g6. And for that, I would need to protect my bishop, right? So I don't know. I mean, I can play queen g6 now, but then my bishop is loose. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he has like knight g3. I was like, I don't know. Maybe I should have just played queen g6. I don't know. I really, like, he's going to take my pawn as the next move, right? So I'm going to go here, here, here. That's the plan. I'm like, cool. All right, screw it. Rook e8. And then he just goes here. And, you know, when he played this move, I wasn't even mad. Like, I've played so many bad moves in this game. It's fitting I don't see knight f6. What a move. Imagine spending 20 years of your life on this game. It's your entire career, and you forget how the knight moves. No wonder Andrea asked that question at the World Championship, right? I mean, like, I just set my eyes so hard on bishop a7, knight g5. It just didn't even occur to me that the move... You know why? Because probably here, knight f6 threatens nothing. Just like, for example, this move doesn't do anything. I just go like, I don't know, queen f5 or queen d6. Like, he doesn't... And I don't know, I guess I just... I mean, what can I say? What can I say? He's thinking, I'm like, why is he thinking and not taking my pawn? He goes knight f6. I'm like... Okay, so obviously you can resign here. But it's still not, like, insanely clear, right? Because I get a rook and a knight. It's 8 for 9. You would think it's not the end of the world. And then he didn't take my pawn again. Like, of course you just take the pawn here. You just take the pawn. Now, when you play against the queen, let's say you have rook and knight or whatever imbalance, what you need is you need a very solid structure, and you need as many pieces on the board to fight against the big scary dragon as possible, right? So that's why I didn't, like, trade bishops for example. I didn't go for this because then he's going to take on a7, and I thought this was very bad. Computer actually likes this more. The computer actually thinks that I should go for a position like this. It thinks that the structure that I have here is not so bad. I mean, I'm sure this is completely lost, but maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, would Stockfish draw this with black? Yes. Against like a human. Maybe Stockfish would probably win. So I did this, which is not good. Too passive. And he played b4. Played b4, yeah, I mean, you know, b5 is coming. He was also playing really fast at this point, so the rest of the game is mostly out of not wanting to resign in 20 moves, so I played a6. He played a4. Very instructive, by the way, like just belligerently going for the attack. I tried to kick out his bishop with my pawns. Here he played another very nice move, very instructive move. This is activating the queen to its maximum potential. Queen a2. Point of this is to support the advance on A and B files, but also cut the entire diagonal. It just shows you how strong the queen is, right? And I'm very passive. You know, I shove his bishop back a little bit more, but the truth is, you know, it's all falling apart. I play here. There's just no way to stop the infiltration. He plays b5, queen c4, and jumps in here with his bishop to remove my knight from the defense of the pawns. It's very, very nice. I play rook d6 here. It's just a losing move. He can take my knight. I don't know why he didn't. He could just take my knight, and, you know, if I take back, he just takes on a6. But he played a solid move. He played h3. h3 is so that he doesn't ever have back rank problems. It's like I don't come down with my rooks and somehow, like, do some tricks. I actually thought h4 was even better because he was even more breathing room, but I digress. Beggars can't be choosers. You know, I take a couple times. I try to play some defense. I even thought about playing bc6 and running my king. He plays queen b5. Again, here I can give him a check and then get like this position, or I guess rook b6. But this is all lost. My pawns are too spread thin. I have no sense of fortress here. The queen b5, queen d3, right? It's just terrible. So I thought about doing that. I tried to, you know, protect myself from his pieces. It's not gonna work. He rips my defenses apart, and he has some tricks here like rook c4 and queen d5 that I can block and maybe survive. So he moves his king to h2, and yeah, I mean, everything is losing because he's just gonna go here and just completely crush me. So I play a couple more moves with no time on the clock, and I resign because even though I can block my king, he has bishop c5, and the game is over. So yeah, that was a terrible game. It was so bad. I had a couple of good moments of calculating a few things accurately, but I didn't anticipate his first move. I didn't anticipate his third move. It's actually the one thing that I literally haven't checked. I mean, I've checked everything else recently. I don't play many fantasies, and I had to come to terms with the fact that playing it in Blitz only is not good enough. And I rushed in the opening to try to play the move that I thought was correct. I had to take and play e5. That was correct. So I have to go work on my theory a little bit. And then from that point forward, it was such an odd position that we both misevaluated it drastically, but only for one of us was the position actually difficult, right? So even if he didn't play the right pressurizing moves, his position was still very, very easy to play. And I didn't see knight b6, bishop e7. I didn't see knight c7. I completely misevaluated this position for myself, which I thought was like decent. Then I realized he has queen e3. Then I didn't play into the endgame down a pawn. I played into this other version of it, and I actually got somewhere. I actually got to a position that looked okay. If I just play queen g6, I'm almost there. I'm gonna lose my a pawn. I play f5. It's like really not the end of the world, and then I hang my queen. I mean, I don't have to lose my queen, by the way. This was confusing for anybody. I could go like here, but this is terrible. I mean, it's actually worse to be down in exchange here. So, yeah, this was a disaster. This is a really bad game. Hopefully we bounce back in the next round, though.